And we are live. Welcome to Thursday Night Live, Broken But Not Wasted Ministries. If it's Thursday night, if it's 7:30, it is Thursday Night Live. All right, le jeudi en direct avec Pasteur Sarah Batroni. So we are very glad to be in your home. We are very privileged to be in your home, and we thank you for allowing us to get to your home as you join. I'm going to ask you to share the broadcast so many can benefit from it. And if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. On Thursday nights, we do education, we present information on a social at a social level. So please share so your family members, your friends, your relatives can get to this. All right. So greetings to all. Greetings to the Duvernies. All right. This night, this night is very exciting. Not that the other nights were not exciting, but they had a little bit of a sad note, with what's taking place in Texas, what have you. So we were a bit saddened, and we still are saddened by what's taking place in our country, in our homeland. Tonight we have a beautiful, like the flyer says, a young, beautiful, successful young lady, one of our own. She's a product of Haiti, okay? She was not made in Haiti, but she's les produits Haïti, okay? Les produits vente haïtien. All right, her name is Vanessa Bonnie. And her education, she got her education Florida FAMU University College of Law, Juris Doctor, 2007 to 2007. And she had her bachelor's at the University of Central Florida in 2004. Vanessa Bonnie is a former personal injury protection, family law, and criminal defense attorney, and she has successfully defended numerous cases before a jury as well as negotiated personal injury property suits. She also has years of experience in immigration law, particularly the asylum process, establishing permanent residence, and the naturalization process. Vanessa began her career with the Social Security Administration at the Orlando Hearing Office in February of 2010 as an attorney advisor. During her tenure there, she successfully completed 3 details as a senior attorney advisor for 20 months. In June 2019, she joined the Miami management team as a group supervisor. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to Broken But Not Wasted Ministries platform tonight, Vanessa Bunny. Yay!
Hi.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Pastor Sarah. How are you?
So excited that you graced us with your presence in this platform.
You're too kind. Too kind. Thanks for
So,
having me.
I've read your bio, so now you're gonna introduce yourself to the viewers. Who are you exactly? Tell us a little bit about your hobbies. You, you know what you like, what you do not like, your pet peeves, what I cannot do around you. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Well, you did a pretty good job laying out the professional aspect of me. Personally, I'm a mom of 2 um, young, bright, beautiful children, ages 8 and 6. They're still my babies, even though they're growing up so fast. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter. I love just spending time with my family, and I enjoy, as a hobby, paper crafting, scrapbooking, photo projects, and I do that with my daughter a lot. So we enjoy doing that together, making cards. So a bit of a nerd when it comes to paper crafts and projects like that. I love researching technology, just little technology nerd on the side, buying little gadgets. I wouldn't say I love kitchen cooking, but I love buying kitchen gadgets and stuff. So I'm just, like I like shopping. I enjoy shopping, but for the most part, I just enjoy my family. Enjoy spending time with my husband and my children, my mother-in-law, my sisters. I'm close with my sisters, and you mentioned in the introduction that I'm a product of Haiti. That is correct. I'm a product. I was born in New York, but I grew up in a Haitian household. We spoke Nupali Creole Lakai. When I went to school, I spoke English. But actually, Creole was my first
Ou pran
language.
ti baton tout lò te piti,
Ah, baton.
a la haisyen. Ou pran ti
Yes,
baton a la haisyen. Se pa
baton.
so te fet isit ki fe maman kat bo baton, right?
Baton, yes. You know that that's Megalo. But yes, yes.
And how many of you, how many siblings do you have?
I have it's five of us total. So I have three sisters and one brother.
Three
And
sis.
three sisters and one brother. My mother, she's God bless her, she's still here. My father passed away when I was a child. So my mother did she did her best. She raised beautiful children. She instilled the fear of God in us. And she was education was very important. She came to this country with little to nothing, and her goal was her children need to be educated and be better than she could be, with the limitations that she had. So she instilled, my parents instilled that in us at a very early age, which is the consistent theme with a lot of Haitian um, of my Haitian friends that I speak to and people that you meet in church. It's a consistent story. Haïtien reme éducation. Reme pou moun yo educate, petit moun yo educate. They emphasize that a lot. That's priority.
Right, correct. And I did have the opportunity to, well, I was gonna say hello, Sister Bonnie. I know you mentioned you are a daughter-in-law. I was gonna mention
Yes.
that. God bless you, Sir Bonnie. I know you just like, oh, excited to have your daughter. I'm not gonna
Hi,
say
Mommy
daughter-in-law,
Zoo.
but daughter-in-love. She loves that girl. I mean, I'm like, Sir Bonnie, I want to be like you when
Oh,
I become a mother-in-law, when I become a grandma. Sir Bonnie, kudos to you.
Stephanie, hats off to you. She is a wonderful mother-in-law. I was blessed. She's also a mother-in-law to my sisters. You can
Uh-huh.
believe that. She takes
Right.
care of my entire family. She loves them. We're just a big family, and
Yes,
it
yes.
was a great.
Beautiful. I told her time and time again, I said, Seboni, when I become a grandmother, you are my model. I want to be like you.
Here she
And I
goes.
did have, I was saying that I did have the privilege to be on the mission field with your mom. Speaking about your mom, when was it? I think it was in 2016, maybe.
I think that's about right.
2016, I was out in the mission field with a beautiful, beautiful lady, Con by Blag. We had a great time. We had a wonder. She didn't tell me anything.
Okay. I'm
She didn't put
surprised.
she didn't put you out there or
Our
anything.
mother. Oh, she was focused on the mission, which is good because she would be out there.
Yes, so now that you've told us everything, I mean, all that we need to know, all that we need to know about you, I'm a little bit intrigued. You say you love to buy kitchen gadget, not that you want to cook. So I feel like I have to get some type of understanding. Counsel, please get me some understanding here.
All
You
right.
love to buy kitchen gadget, kitchen appliances, but not really for cooking. So,
No. Okay, let me clarify. I I like to eat, so essentially I have to cook. I find that excuse me, kitchen gadgets makes the process easier. For example, if you're gonna squeeze a lime, you can squeeze it with your hand, or there's this clamp that you can buy. You pay Zil and do the javide. That's
yes.
easier. So I buy gadgets to make the process easier, so I can get the end result of eating the meal. So I don't like cooking. I like eating, but I cook though. I do cook. Nous fait manger. Nous fait dire ce soir. Baga fait c'est baga fait légumes. And mommy has taught me several times. I
But
have
sou
to.
kote se boni pitit fò ka fe legume, ou pa
I
ka di
know.
sa, you pa ka
No.
di sa online like this, ou pa ka fe
Mommy,
legume
what
alors
oh
ke...
my God, she's so patient with me, and my own mother has taught me too, but I haven't mastered that. But
Yes,
dealing stuff,
beautiful.
well, I'm not to do all that bouillon. I can do that.
Okay, beautiful. So now that we've talked about this, tell the viewers, how did you choose to become an attorney? And when I read your short bio, you've defended cases, criminal cases, in front of a jury.
Yes.
I mean, that takes guts. And I would never want to have a defense attorney as a woman. Never.
Really? Why? You're breaking
Because
up.
defense attorney as a woman, but I would never want to have a woman attorney as a prosecutor.
Oh, I
Ooh.
can understand. See, I can let's first start off how I became an attorney, why I became an attorney. So, as I said, Haïtien mais infirmière. They love nursing. I think I lost her, but I'll continue on with the response. So I Haitians love nursing. They love nursing, everything about medical, because when you're in the medical profession, my mother's rationale is you always have a job. You don't have to look for a job, but you need to go to you need to go to become a nurse. You need to do something medical. So that's what my older sister was doing. She was going to nursing school. By the time I graduated, that was my major. It was going to be I was going to do a physician's assistant, sort of like similar to a nurse practitioner, but it's just a different curriculum. Um, and so I went into UCF, got into nursing class, did the prerequisites biology. I struggled with the sciences in the sense that I didn't enjoy biology, but I did that. I did different sciences, and then when it came to more the science aspect of it. I wasn't enjoying it, and I realized I didn't like science. So I said, let me do speech pathology. So I do that, and I loved it. But then they got to the part about different speech disorders and different issues, and so I realized I had a very it was a difficult time looking at some of the different ailments. So I realized I don't, and then I volunteered as well. I had a difficult time volunteering. The hospital made me uncomfortable. It's not that I didn't feel at ease at home. I'm scared of blood. And so one of the nurses said, Vanessa, this is not for you. You can't be afraid of blood, have an aversion to the hospital, and be a nurse, be a speech pathologist. You're going to need, this is going to be your arena. This is your environment. So then I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I started looking into legal studies at UCF, and I started to take those classes, and I loved it. I loved doing mock hearings, presentations. I joined Phi Alpha Delta, it's a legal organization. We traveled, went to DC, and I just enjoyed that. I found that I was more comfortable with it. I didn't have to go to, I enjoyed volunteering, but not necessarily going to the hospital. So I volunteered in other areas. And then I decided, you know what, this is the path I'm gonna take. And then I completed my degree at UCF and went on to go to FAMU College of Law. They opened up a law school downtown Orlando, so I didn't have to move. I was able to stay and get family support because going to law school can be a financial burden for a lot, and some people don't choose that path because you have to take out loans. You still need family support. Sometimes the loan amount that they give you is not enough, so you have to take out additional loans. So that's not always an option for people, but it was for me because I had the family support, and I went that route. So back to your question, when I told my mom that I was gonna go to law school, she was disappointed. She said, Why do you want to be a lawyer? Because on va faire avocat. Because on va faire infirmière. N'est toujours un job. And then she calls my oldest sister and tells her, why didn't you convince your sister to be a nurse? And she blamed my oldest sister. It's your fault. Of course, until the graduation. Then when I graduated, she was like, oh, this law thing is not so bad. And I started I worked with an attorney doing immigration law, and he knew the family, and so she warmed up to law. It was a warming up, but before it was a disappointment, a devastation when I told her I was going to be a lawyer. So,
Right, parce que t'es commencé, at least ou t'es belle satisfaction pour t'es commencé, but when you
yeah,
see that it wasn't working for you, mom, it's not working for me,
yeah.
right?
It wasn't working. It just wasn't clicking for me. I didn't have the passion. You want to have.
So,
Hmm?
so tell me, it was not at first that you knew that this was your calling, this was your vocation to become an attorney. You did not know about it like from way back when you were little or growing up.
No.
You didn't know. It just so happened that
Yeah.
biology and the science classes, anatomy, physiology, all of these, that didn't
Yeah.
work quite too much for you. So you kind of started looking at legal studies, and you
It clicked.
felt
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
you,
I
you
did.
felt that you fit, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So at least
Exactly.
ou bay mami satisfaction kote
I
komanse.
tried, mommy. I tried. Yeah, I
See?
tried. I definitely
You
tried.
showed goodwill. You showed goodwill.
Yes.
Instead of just, yeah.
So I did. I did try. But now she's happy. Oh, she loves it. Oh, I got a nurse. That's a daughter. Doctor. I'm not doctor. Juris Doctorate. And then I have a sister who's a psychologist and another in law enforcement. So she has an array of vocations that
She
she
did
can talk
well.
about.
She
You,
did
you know,
well.
she's proud
She did
about it. She's
well.
very
God
proud.
bless her. God bless her. Yes, and not just that, you are serving God. So that's
Yeah,
the cream on the cake. Okay, the icing on the cake for
that
her.
is because
Right.
without that, I don't have anything. So
Exactement.
without that
Si ou
foundation
ta fait tout bagay ou gen tout succès gen sans bon Dieu, that's nothing.
or
So,
nothing.
parlez-nous de défis que vous avez rencontrés pendant que vous êtes entré dans legal study. I know it was challenging with the medical side, scientific side. Now, when you got into law school, you said you loved it. You loved the material when you started reading, studying the theories and stuff. But what were the main challenges that you've encountered in your legal studies at first?
One of the main challenges that a law student may face is feeling, isolation, like you're alone, because it's a rigorous process. Sometimes it's a process of elimination. You go to law school and they inundate you with assignments. You'll have to write papers, read briefs, and you're doing so much that if you may feel isolated, and you don't realize that you're retaining the information. So it can be some people get lonely, they feel like they're failing, they just and some people even drop out. It is a process, it's a rigorous process of elimination. Sometimes some can view it as that. So that was a challenge, but
What do you
again,
mean? Sorry, let me jump in. Qui ça veut dire par processus d'élimination? A process elimination process.
yeah, well, you get okay, so let me give you an example. So a first semester class of law school they'll call it 1L. Your first year of law school, you get all these assignments that seem nearly impossible to complete, but you have to complete it because when you go inside the classroom, the professor will use something called the Socratic method to call on students. And that just means they call on you. And when I was in school, they would refer to you by your last name or first name. It just depended on the school, but they would just call you out and you had to speak on a subject, analyze it, give your opinion, the conclusion of the court. And if you weren't ready, it was quite embarrassing if you weren't prepared. Some people have anxiety; they don't like speaking in front of a crowd, and they when you're in class, you have to be prepared. Otherwise, the professor will continue to call on you until you understand that you need to do everything because you don't know what they're going to call you for.
Ouch.
So the nights, yeah, but you have sleepless nights simply preparing in class just so you can answer a question. So it is a process of elimination. Some people can't, they just, they don't persevere and they decide this is not for me. This route is not for me. And so they'll drop out or sometimes they take a break. They'll take a break, they'll step back, and they'll come back and try it out. But some people do go to law school and they realize it's not for them. It's not for everybody, especially in the method that it's taught. Doesn't mean that you can't be a lawyer. Maybe that style doesn't work for that individual. But so that was a challenge. Just materials. Sometimes the more resources you have. And for me, I went through family support. I come from humble beginnings. My parents, my mother sent me to school with all that she could. She supported me. But there are extra materials that I didn't have. Like, for example, students would have laptops. I didn't have a laptop. So I'm writing. It's more efficient to type out the notes, have it later to reference. But I was writing because I couldn't afford a computer. But you can't let that hold you back. That's an obstacle. You just overcome. You just have to work twice as hard. And so that's all I had to do. And then eventually my mother was able to send support and give me a laptop. So I was able to study that way. Another challenge is not having support, a mentor. So I didn't have a mentor. And it's good to have a mentor to guide you so that you don't make certain mistakes. You can avoid certain things. They can help you with it, get an internship. Mentors can help you do that. They could just guide you on a smoother path. You can get connections with networking. So a lot of those benefits, I would say, I didn't have. I just kind of went to law school and didn't have that support system. I didn't know anybody that was a lawyer. Some people, if you're going to law school, you know somebody. Reach out to them, ask them questions, um, ask them if they could mentor you or if they could be, somebody you can count on when you have questions. So it's very important to have a network of individuals to support you, especially as a minority. That's very important that we could stay connected and help each other because the legal community, once you get out, just as it's even more difficult to navigate than law school is.
Hmm. So, how did you proceed without a mentor? You just kept on going, or did you seek for one, either with one of your professors or when you did the internship? How did you proceed? Did you remain? Did you went throughout the whole um,
Yeah.
how many years without the mentor? I mean, you did it without.
I did it. I did it. It's definitely possible. It's just the path. It's just easier because you could avoid certain mistakes. So I ended up having an internship. I believe my last year, and the gentleman that I worked with, he was kind of, he served as a mentor, really great. He came on later on, but definitely it's better late than never, right? And I ended up connecting with him, worked with him, and did immigration law. And so that was, when I graduated, he came very supportive, and I still stay in contact with him till this day. So it's good to just have somebody, a community that you can talk to. So it's not impossible, but if you have the assistance, it's really good. And for me, my generation, I'm the first, so my mother came from Haiti, so we're the first generation of individuals getting an education. It will be different for my children because I'm surrounded by friends that I met in college, um, friends that have education. That if my children need a mentor, I could arrange that for them as a parent. That's why education is so important and it impacts every aspect of your life. So my children will be better off just because of one generation getting education, receiving an education. Now that education comes with my friends and just a wealth of connections that I can open the door for my children, friends. You can mentor other people at church. All of that it helps along the journey. It's not impossible, Pastor, but it's just a little more challenging. That's it. It's not impossible.
Great. And speaking of your children, being the young, beautiful, successful attorney, criminal defense attorney, defending cases in front of a jury, do you expect? Well, actually, both you and your husband are attorneys, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Nous tous deux, ni ou même ni Marou, c'est deux avocats. So nous
Oui.
avons dit deux avocats.
Deux avocats. Ou bien,
Deux
deux,
avocats. Bons avocats.
comment
You
dit
know,
avocats?
des avocats, no?
That's what my uncle calls me. Zaboka, Vini Zaboka. But yeah, my husband is
So,
also an attorney.
both you, did you guys meet in law school?
No, we met at UCF Club Creole.
Oh, bon. You met at Club Creole?
Club Creole, yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. Dis-nous nom de ça, comment
Oh my
ça
gosh,
fait.
it was a
Parce que nous
beautiful.
t'ai rencontré dans l'école de droit, hein?
Oh no. It was UCF lost UCF Club Creole, and it was a club. I'm still friends with the individuals that founded the club, that are in the club. It was like a big family. We just celebrated Creole culture, and that was the countries that spoke Creole. We celebrated them: Guadeloupe, Martinique, Haiti, because
Wow.
we felt that we weren't represented in the other organizations. Right? You're always forgotten. Nobody's playing, compa or different music that resonates with us.
That speaks, yeah.
So yeah, we always felt left out. So Club Creole was founded, and we celebrated all of those islands. Dominica, we celebrated all the Creole speaking countries, and we became a very, very popular club. And my husband just had passion to just let people know how Munais and Bel Moon, Dominicans, Guadeloupans, all these people. We tried to educate the school, the student body on the beauty of our culture. And so that's what we met. We had that commonality. We met, we had that passion. And as I mentioned to you earlier, my dad passed away when I was a child, but my dad loved Haitian music, and he would play it all the time. So when he passed away, I had old albums that I would, play just to remember him, and they became scratch, and then I could listen to it. So my husband, Finley at the time, he was a student, and he loved making mixtapes. And so one day he made me a mix tape with a DVD with all the songs my dad used to play. It was amazing.
That's like that's it. That's
Yes,
music for you. That's like
he had Timo no
that's my
one, he had
husband.
Abu Kwambo, all of that. I was like, oh my God. I cried listening to that. So I had that connection with him. I was just so grateful. I had a feeling of nostalgia. And so, yeah, that's how we met. That's how we became, we were friends, really good friends first. And
Right.
then, later on, the relationship developed.
All right. So let's go back to your children.
Yeah.
Since both you and your husband are attorneys, do you guys see one of your children or both? Do you expect one of them or both to become attorneys like you, or how do you?
Well, I don't necessarily have that expectation, but I do let them know that I'll support them, and education is important. And I let them know about their history, how my mother, where she came from in her humble beginnings, and how education is so important for everything that you want to achieve. To just be able to articulate, read, understand. And we're very big on, my husband and I, we're very big on education. So I will support them in their dreams. So right now, my daughter says she wants to be a lawyer, a cheerleader. She has a list of things that she wants to be, and I tell her you can be anything you put your mind to it. And I tell her if you're going to be a lawyer, you got to be the best. You got to be best. I gave her the same speech my mother gave me. You got to be better than me for people passing, for no people position passing. So whatever she has, let's say she wants to be a nurse. I know Sister Geralda's a nurse. I have connections there. We have a community of people that are educators, that are educated. They can mentor and help. We can help each other. So it's so good. My sister-in-law is in education. She's an intern principal. If my daughter wanted to do that, she has that connection. So the path is just it'll be better for them, I believe, because of the support that they'll get. So I'll support them in what they do. Well, my daughter's a little attorney now. Actually, she has a nickname CIA. She's like CIA. She's like a lawyer, CIA agent, all the questions in the world. My son, he's more of a sweet spirit. He wants to be a doctor, a lawyer, and a police officer. You know that age, they can,
And
you
a
know,
football
he can
player
do it.
and a basketball
Oh
player
my gosh, yes. So he went
and
to
a
the doctor.
firefighter.
Yeah, he went to the doctor one time and he said, "Oh, I could be a doctor. I can do this. This is easy." And he calls his godmother and says, "I'm Nenen, I'm gonna be a doctor." I went to the doctor. He put a band-aid on me and it was easy. I'm gonna be a doctor. So I said,
Yeah.
"Yes, you can be whatever you put your mind to." And so we're just gonna
Right.
support them. And we have the family support, the friend support. It really does take a village. So
That's wonderful. So that you're not restricting them to one particular career just
no,
because you
yeah.
became an attorney, you want them to become one to continue to on the same path. As long as they get their education, they choose the right
Yeah.
vocation career
Some
for them that suits them, then you're fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, it may be likely that she wants to do that because that's what she's familiar
She
with.
practices on you first.
She really does, Pastor Sarah. Oh my, the interrogations, I feel like I'm on cross-examination with her. Ask anybody in the house. It's like, oh my gosh, you're just questioning me. Questions. Mommy, where were you? You said you were going to be here at 7. It is now 7:30. Mommy, do you realize you're late? It goes on and on. She's a little attorney.
Wow. So tell us, you talked to us about your challenge. One of the challenges you said early on was the fact that you felt isolated.
Mhm.
How did you overcome that? Or how can a college student, a university um, student overcome that isolation when you have to put on hours of study, total concentration, cannot do anything, cannot have fun many nights, you just stay in and study. How do you overcome that
Well, you,
challenge?
you you definitely have to remain disciplined. You have to have a schedule, study, and sometimes you can join study groups to overcome that. You can join study groups. You may have a friend, but you have to make sure that friend has the same determination as you. So birds of a feather flock together. You want to make sure that you're with somebody. Excuse me. You align yourself with somebody that has the same determination, the same fervor to succeed. So if you do that, you can join study groups. Sometimes that doesn't always happen. So what you can do to overcome that is maintain a personal life. So with family, connect with family. On the weekends if you can, to overcome the loneliness, the isolation. Get involved, volunteer, and if you're in law school, you can pay it forward, go back into the school that you graduated and volunteer there. It's just important to have a balance. So there's something called work-life balance. There should be a school life balance. You want to make sure not the school has to be more. You have to focus on that because at the end of the day, when you're an attorney, I remember my professor would say this. Oh, you guys think this is hard? When you're in law, it's worse. It's more difficult. You have to take care of a family, go to work. You have deadlines, and it's true. You mentioned when I was a defense attorney, I was a public defender at one point. I had so many cases. I was working Saturday, Sunday. It'd be 10 o'clock one Sunday night. I had trial the next day on Monday. So you needed to get that discipline in law school in order to continue it in your profession. So it wasn't, oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm having a sleepless night because I have a trial. No, I was used to that regimen because of law school. So it's very important to just have a balance though, but it is going to be lonely because you have to study a lot. You have to retain the material. And it doesn't at first seem like it's sticking until you're speaking with your non-lawyer friends and they tell you, say it to me in English. You're talking lawyer right now. I'm like, no, I said it normal. No, no, you didn't, Vanessa. You're speaking legal. Oh, I'm so sorry. This thing is sticking. So it seems like it's not, but it will stick. You just have to have determination to go through the process. And as I mentioned, if you can get a mentor, that is so important. A mentor could be somebody at school, excuse me, at church, somebody, just reach out. Some people are looking to mentor people, but they don't know where to go. So you just have to be determined, advocate for yourself. That's another thing that's kind of unique that I struggled with. Advocating for yourself, going to somebody and telling them why they should mentor you, or why that you have to be able to speak up for yourself. And it's something that I've learned to do through the years, but definitely something that I was not used to doing in law school. I had to then learn that you have to fight for yourself. If you want that mentor, pick up the phone, call somebody. If you need somebody, go to networking events, especially in this Central Florida, excuse me, not Central. I'm now a South Floridian.
South.
This is moving to Miami. But
South
in
Florida.
South Florida, yeah. In South Florida, there are a lot of programs for the youth. So you can start looking, if you know you want to be an attorney or a nurse or whatever path you want to do, get on it now. Get involved with the community. And when you're younger, people are more inclined to umbrella you in, just help you out. Oh, I love that spirit. They're willing to free labor, intern. You can go in, you will learn. Don't it shouldn't always be paid, because sometimes you learn more that way when it's an internship. Volunteer, call a law firm and say, may I volunteer for you? And I did that one year. I called the law firm because I didn't have an internship, and they allowed me to come in and I volunteer. So that was a great experience. If it's a doctor's office, if you want to be a nurse, if you're a teacher, you can and you want to do leadership, there are opportunities. You just have to find it. And we have the internet now, so it's a little bit easier to do
Okay.
that.
So we're gonna get to questions. Let's get
Oh,
Robert
question.
Duvernay's question first. He's asking what prompted you, or what moment in time was there a turning point? What moment in time that propelled you to seek a profession in law?
It was when I was taking various classes. I was taking science courses, research methods, different classes. This was in law, in undergrad, probably about the year 2000, 2001 or two, one of those sophomore years, and I didn't enjoy the science classes at all. I just was doing it to get through. I was doing the science classes, doing the math classes, and I ended up taking one legal studies class and a class on criminal law and the death penalty. And I read the material cover to cover, and I was just so engaged and enthralled with the information, and it was easily retained. I was just it just connected with me. So I went to the guidance counselor at UCF at the time, and said I might be interested in changing my major. And she said, "Have you thought of law?" So I spoke with my guidance counselor. If you have doubt, you don't know what career path you'd like to do, take different classes while you're in undergrad. They have you have a student excuse me, there's an administration, there's a guidance counselor, or I'm not sure what they're called, but they're similar to a guidance counselor. Take the time and sit down and figure out what it is that you want to do. It's built into your tuition fee. You have that built in, so you might as well take advantage of it. So sit down, have a talk with your guidance counselor. Let them guide you. Take different classes. All the resources that you have on campus, you should utilize it to help you come to an informed decision on what career path you want to take. So that's when I decided that I wanted to do law. And I did an internship while at UCF at the public defender's office. And I loved it, going to the jail, watching the attorneys in trial. And I said, you know what, it confirms it. This is exactly what I want to do.
Wow. Okay. There is a second question, same by Robert Duvernay. Was there anyone or professor or a specific cause that prompted you to seek a career in law?
No, it was just the experience of doing nursing, volunteering at the hospital. I had over, I want to say 200 hours of volunteering in the hospital, and I just said, this isn't for me. But I wanted to please my mother. When I was doing nursing before, even in high school, I was volunteering. When I went off to college, so it was just something it didn't connect with me, it didn't click. And I was saying before, if you're in high school right now or you're in college, especially if you're in college, you're undeclared, you don't know what you want to major in, you should go to the administration. There's a guidance counselor. That is built into the tuition. They will help you find the career path. You can take different classes and see what's resonating with you. And this is in the first 2 years. Take a couple of classes. And so that's what happened to me. I ended up doing a criminal, I think it was a criminal law class or a death penalty class, as I said. And that resonated with me. It wasn't a specific professor. It was just the subject matter. And I said, yes, this is just it wasn't difficult. I just read it and I just could remember it. It was enjoyable. Whereas with I did enjoy math, but it was the sciences. Whew, sciences. I didn't like it. And I didn't like the um the graphic when you had the textbook, the depictions of just different photos. I couldn't even open the book to see those. So I just weakened the knee. I just could not. And so it was my guidance counselor, and I said as I volunteered, but no, you can't. You have to be able to, for lack of a better word, stomach this stuff.
Yes, yes.
You have to be able to
Now,
stomach it.
yes,
So
Dr.
I
Devani.
wasn't cut out for it. So yeah,
Of
power to
course.
those nurses and doctors, physical therapists, all of that. That's awesome.
So, counselor Dr. Duverne is asking, what advice would you give to young people from falling victim to the law? To young people for falling victim to the law.
Well, there's a lot of advice, but I'll focus on perhaps maybe um, two areas. Just driving, and how about we could talk about just friends getting together and doing silly things when they go to the store. What teenagers generally do, shoplift or different things like that. So we'll start off with your driving. When you're um, to avoid that, to avoid getting falling victim to the law, certain times you just want to make sure that you are abiding with the traffic stops. Have your not traffic stop, traffic laws. Have your driver's license with you, your insurance, and just try to abide by the. Are you there? I think okay, it's still there, so I'll continue. Just complying with day-to-day traffic laws. And if you were to ever get stopped, I'm not an expert, but these are conversations that we need to have, especially in this day and age. If you ever were to get stopped, and I'll say this because I've witnessed my husband do this, and and I was just in awe of how he handled the situation. When you get stopped by a law enforcement officer, especially as a minority, you want to always put your hands on the wheel. Let them know exactly what you're doing. If you're reaching for the glove compartment, you're going to the glove compartment. Let them know step by step what you're doing. Officer, I'm reaching for I'm reaching for my driver's license. Officer, I'm reaching for the insurance card. And try, if you're going to stop, to try to stop in a public place. Now, falling victim, there's definitely, as you can see from news, there are things that you just can't do to avoid it. Unfortunately, the times that we are in, and this has always existed, but it's just more it's vivid in our on videos and photos. It's always happened, but now it's being documented. So there sometimes you can't do things from you can't prevent it, but you could definitely do things to mitigate it or to help. Going into a public place, don't stop somewhere alone if you get stopped by the police. There are people that follow all traffic laws and they're still stopped. There are people that are stopped for no reason. So you just make sure you don't just give them anything, and they still may stop you. Now, as far as falling victim, since we were talking about kids and teens, I was just saying, just make sure you're hanging out with the right type of friends, and not. And when I say that is not even right type. If you have a group of friends that like to skirt the law, get in trouble, go to a store, or when you were in school. When I was in school, I knew friends that just would go to the store and eat off the shelf or just do things that I knew wasn't right. You want to make sure you avoid those type of situations. You just want to let your parents know where you're at all times. So your parents always have an idea. Yeah, you want to have your parents know who your friends are. And I know this sounds like I'm lecturing, but that's important because in this day and age, you have to have the support of your parents. And your parents should support you. You should know the friends you're hanging out with, know everything about them, and trust them. And that's how you could avoid falling victim. At least for me, that's what I did. Growing up in a small town, I had friends that went to jail, went to because they were at the wrong place, wrong time, with the wrong friends doing unfortunately stupid activities. And so I tried to avoid that. You want to hang out with people that have similar interests, you know. Mistakes do happen, I understand that, but you can learn from it and just stay with the right crowd. And that means people that have your similar interests, the same ambition, the same passion um, for life.
Right. I want to put a question in. What was it like the first time you stepped foot in the courtroom as a
I
as
remember it.
a criminal defense attorney? Please tell us.
Oh my gosh. So I can tell you about the first, the one that is memorable for me. It was one time I had pre-trial. Pre-trial is, as a public defender, is when you meet with all your clients before trial. And that day it was my first pre-trial. I think I was on the job 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And I had pre-trial, and then my trial partner said, "Oh," and I said, "It's going to be easy. You only have 10 clients." It's like 10 clients all at once. You have to go over the case with the clients. Oftentimes, that's the first time that client's meeting you because they didn't return your phone call, or they're skeptical of the public defender. They just you're their attorney because they have no choice, right?
Right.
And so I walked into the courtroom just nervous, and I met with the clients.
So
They
this
over
takes place in the courtroom.
in the
Is that
courtroom, yeah.
like in a deposition
No,
area?
you should meet the client in your office ideally
Right.
before the pre-trial. But again, the two clients I had, I think I called them, they didn't answer. Some of them didn't have the correct number, so that was fine. So pre-trial, it's like my trial partner warned me, you're going to meet most of these people at the pre-trial. Don't worry, you'll be fine. That was the only training. There's no, oh, here's the training. No, it's sink or swim. So I went into pre-trial. I had my 10 clients. They bummed rushed me. They came in and they were like, "Where's my case? This is what I want. This is my plea." And it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming to say the least. And I'm writing down, I'm going back and forth. So pre-trial, you negotiate a plea at that time, at that point, and the charges are set forth. And sometimes your client chooses to plea. It was chaos. I was just overwhelmed by the 10 clients. That's the memory that I remember, and I'm bring that memory because the next pre-trial that I had was going to be about 6 weeks out. So after I barely survived that pre-trial, my 10 clients told me, "Oh, I want a new lawyer." They were telling me everything. They were giving me relevant information. I'm writing it all down. It was just overwhelming. And I wasn't prepared because I didn't know what to expect. You can't prepare for, I mean, you can prepare for that. So I'll tell you how I prepared for that. So the second pre-trial was about 6 months, 6 weeks later. And I said, I have to shadow other attorneys to see how they handle these pre-trials. And I looked at the docket. My next pre-trial, I was going to have 70 clients.
How many?
70. 70.
Okay.
So I went in a panic. I said, I have to get it together. I started shadowing other attorneys. I saw how they handled the pretrial, and they were very confident, right? They went in, they set the tone, and they told the clients, this is how it's gonna go down, this is gonna happen, and they directed their client. And a lot of them were able to call the clients in advance. Some of those clients, it takes repeated calls. So what I did was called. I had to call all of them. A lot of them did get back to me. Some of them didn't. So on the day of pretrial, 6 weeks later, excuse me, I went in just confident with all the examples I saw. I saw other people doing pretrial. I shadowed seasoned attorneys. I
I'm
said,
gonna show them who's in charge here.
yes. I went in there. I said, I went in there. I said, good afternoon. And I gave them a whole spiel of speech. that today wasn't the day to go over there. The cases, they should have called me. This is how it's going to go down. They're going to come in one at a time. I'm going to go over their charges, tell them what the case is, what's going on, and we're just going to get down to business. And if they're not going to accept the negotiated deal that I negotiated for them, we're going to set the case for trial. So they came in one at a time. There's 70 clients. I think about 65 showed up. They came in and I was just in control, confident, because I saw examples of other people doing it successfully, and I was more confident. And I realized if I don't show these individuals that I'm confident, they're gonna eat me alive. And that's exactly what happened. They did it. The first time they did it, it was only 10. And this time it was 65. I went through it like a champ, only because I was just mimicking what I had seen, and it worked. It's about exuding confidence and believing in yourself. And I was able to, and some of them were like, "Oh yeah, you got a good attorney." Attorney only had like a month of experience, but they were happy just the way I was navigating the courtroom. And I'll never forget it. Somebody said, "Who's that attorney? Can she be my attorney?" It was just exuding the confidence. A lot of it is you're learning on the job, but you have to be confident in yourself. And I would say that's what I learned at the public defender's office.
Right.
In addition to the experience, but you just get kicked in there, and they're like, "You got to do the job." And you have to swim. You have to swim or pretend you know how to swim.
Yeah,
You'll
je nou
survive.
tan kreol la nage pou sorti.
Là, j'aime
Si
ça,
te
tu même
swim,
pas comme la
nage,
vie.
dégajou.
Dégagez. That's exactly what I
Dégajou
did.
pou sorti, right? That's beautiful. And we have a young lady, Stacy, who's asked a question. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me take the time for Zula here. Zula's watching her mommy.
Oh, hi.
Oh.
I love you, Zuzu.
Mini attorney.
Mm,
All right, that's from
love you, Zuzu.
Stacy. Would you
Hi,
recommend
Stacey.
taking a gap year before law school? If so, what would you recommend to do today to do during that year?
Okay, that's a good question. I was actually considering taking a gap year, but my sister, she said, Vanessa, just continue. You don't want to take a break, and you don't have the motivation. You don't get the motivation to return. While you're already in school mode, stay in school mode. However, I'm not discouraging one to not take a gap year. If you are taking a gap year, I would make it a year of learning. How are you making yourself a better applicant for the law school application? So if you're going to volunteer, if you're going across the country to do something to help your community, but it shouldn't just be a gap year because you want to take a break, you're tired of school. It has to be productive because when you're trying to get in law school, it's a competitive process. And they're going to want to know, why did you take a year and what makes you a better applicant, a candidate, than this individual who jumped right into law school. So if you took a gap year and you were doing pro bono work, helping underprivileged children, just doing something to impact your community in a positive way, and you continued on your learning journey, that's important. You don't want to just take a break simply to take a break, because that will be detrimental to your application package if you're just taking a break. You want to show you can juggle several things at once. Work, volunteering. So when you take the gap year, I would encourage you to work, volunteer, or you can do something abroad, a study abroad. That's really good to do a study abroad if you are considering a gap year. But I just went straight.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well said. Thank you so much for covering that. Would taking an accelerated MBA over the summer be recommended to be more attributable to law school?
When I'm not familiar with an accelerated MBA, how long that takes. Would it take a summer to do that? Or, but definitely, if when you're going to law school, as long as that MBA is not, you're keeping your GPA up, um, and you're, because it's an acceleration, that can be the committee that is viewing your application will look at that, because law school is an acceleration. They throw so much at you all at once. And if that MBA is showing that you can handle a heavy workload, with competing priorities, it puts you in a better position as long as you can, display that in your package. What does that MBA mean? Because in law school, you don't have to have a specific major. You can major in anything. I had a professor who said you could major in basket weaving. It doesn't matter. They take you, but definitely they like to see a MBA would be impressive, and especially if your GPA is high, you want to make sure you're maintaining a high GPA. At the time when I was in law school, I think it was about a 3.5 or 3.75. You want to have high GPA, not just take that class to your detriment. If you're going to be able to do that and sustain a high GPA, by all means, yes, that will help the application.
Perfect, perfect. That's a very good question. Thank you, Stacy, for asking those questions for those who are going into looking into going to law school. If a minor was convicted of wrongdoing, can it be expunged later to be able to go to school after serving time? Great question.
That's a great question. I actually did some pro bono work for the Legal Aid Society, doing expungements. That's very statutory driven, so you have to pull up the statute and look up the specific type of offense. So it depends on the offense they committed, the crime. Generally, if it's a minor, unless they were tried as an adult, that's a sealed record. You definitely want to disclose that when you're applying for law school, and it could be your story on how you overcame, because everybody, sometimes when the road is simple, that's not a great story. But sometimes when you had challenges, that's a great story of how you persevered, how you overcame struggle. So the law school, when I say great story, I'm speaking of the application process. So for school, when you're applying for school, you wanna put that how you overcame, how you did this, you made a mistake, how you learned from it, and that will help you. So with that, it would depend on the type of crime it is, and generally, if it's a minor, those are sealed. You can definitely expunge it, but I don't. It's been a really long time since I've done the sealing and the expunging, which is a different process. Two steps. So you seal it, and then you can later expunge it from the record. But when it's expunged, you only have to disclose that to certain agencies. So if you were to apply for a federal job or certain government agencies, even though it's sealed and expunged, you would still have, or expunged, you'd have to still disclose that. But yeah, definitely, I would encourage that minor who was wrongly convicted, do not give up. Continue to, once you serve your time, continue to go to school, work hard. I went to law school with an individual who wore it as a badge of honor. He was involved in gangs. He had felony convictions, but he turned that around. He went to law school. That was actually his platform. And he went back into the community to help other kids in
Wow.
gangs, involved in gangs, involved in that life. And he said, you can get out of this. So that was his platform, and they loved it. It was beautiful. He just had so much passion to help others. So I wouldn't look at as an obstacle that you cannot overcome. You can overcome that.
Right, so knowing where he came from,
Hmm.
he went ahead and encouraged others who were in
Yeah,
the same situation years back when he was.
yeah, and that was his story. How he had this on his record. He did this, and he did 180. You definitely want to demonstrate how you turned the story around. Right? You definitely want to do that. How you are a successful story. That's so important.
Ok, so if you don't mind, Vanessa, esko ka explike sa an kreol?
Oh, oui, oui.
Question an di, si an ti moun ki an bazaj, ki pa ko gen 18 an, an mineur, li te, li te resevo an verdik de koupab e li te al nan prison, eske record sa ke yo gen de ti moun sa, en tanke mineur kapab efase totalman pou kapab permet li ale l'ekol apre ke l soti nan prison. So sou te ka explike lan kreol.
Ok, oui, m'a pe siken. So, sa mde di an angle, m'a pe se, oui, bon ti pasyans. So, mde kon fè, how do you say expunge, sa se sa, how do you say the expunge?
Efase l ou
Efase. Ok, efase, yo rele sa, yo se rele bi yo efase.
So,
So,
premièrement, yo serré, record là, ou pas qu'à well.
baka well.
Publiquement, ou pas qu'à well. Ok, yo
Yeah.
serré.
Amen. Et puis après un temps, yo effacer. Après un temps, faut temps passer ou si ou serrer et puis après ça ou pas effacer. Les on ti moun font un crime. Si yo te yo charge ti moun ça comme un ti moun li déjà serré. Moun baka wel. Parce que ti petit là ton ti moun l'el te fait l'el te fait crime nan, yo te accusé l'el coupable. So, moun baka wel. Seule façon pour dire moun que le te fait, c'est si la font travail gouvernement et gen des applications pour y a dit faut le dire même dans l'application y a expliqué qui est pour dire ça. So, um, li pas besoin, li déjà serré. Pour effacer le faut tant l'aime t'a fait li gen qui ou c'était 8 ans m'a changé faut me regarder loi exactement parce que pas gen ça dans tête mais but si ti moun sa gen ni m'a encourager à l'école parce que li bon les ou te font bagarre ou sortir dans prison et pour wap travail wap faire ça pour continuer pour vivre la vie so let ti moun sa sorti pour l'appliquer pour la ligue non appliquer pour l'école parce que again les son ti moun yo serré en record là yo serré celle-ci application l'école là dit faut qu'il dit il va changer application process là mais faut gon série de questions y a tout les pour dire mais si c'est bagay là un petit monde bagay ça serré ou pas besoin de personne laisser un petit monde mais si yo te try yo te coupable comme adulte ça veut dire oui n'importe monde ka ouais on a dans computer ou on a regardé ça on monde dans tribunal là yo regarder record si yo te chargé moun ça kon adulte de façon ça faut t'attendre un petit temps pour serrer puis après un bon temps pour l'effacer mais en attendant il y à l'école ou à l'école même si ou coupable non ou pas capable à l'école seul soit pas gagner gade le pas jeune financial aid et puis ça dépend qui qualité crime ou fait si c'est crime par exemple si c'est crime drogue la difficile pour prendre aide dans le gouvernement de changer ça l'aime dans l'école changer ça je donne un paquet de bagages parce que m'a pratiquer l'on comme pas songer même sous coupable vous faire crime vous dans l'école pas ou que tu continuer à l'école et puis li bon tout vous dans l'école et puis c'est de façon ça montrer que gens changer la vie gens moun ça qui coupable petit moun ça li coupable comme adulte gens li vivre la vie et puis il doit faire bagages dans la communauté pour aider l'autre monde dans passion ça et puis on paquet on a supporter passion ça pour un monde de font crime et pour retourner pour faire ou éduquer pour aider l'autre monde on paquet de notre communauté à supporter ça donc ma fond si ça clair so si son petit monde li serré personne même pas dans le tribunal comme avocat pour mal garder record ça c'est seulement avocat moun avec avocat pour le gouvernement qui can entrer pour yo ouais dossier un petit monde moun baka ouais bagay ça
Okay, okay, very
n'importe
good.
moun baka ouais
Okay. Merci, um, Attorney Bonnie. So, le pou moun nan expunge, le pou moun nan effacer, retirer, comme si effacer dossier totalement, est-ce que son avocat pour le prend, pour l'employer un avocat après un certain temps, ou bien système n'a just drop it after a certain time? Or do you have to actually go into appeal or whatever, file motions and what have you? How does that work?
you mean answer in English or pray or both
Both, please.
okay so first no it does not drop off automatically you have to petition the court to get your records sealed and expunged and expunged and you would do that with an attorney you can certainly do it yourself if it's in Florida it's a Florida statute and it's statutorily driven you just read the statute and follow it to the letter of the law so it would be you have to have your record has to be crime free for a certain period I can't remember there are statutory requirements that make you eligible for this type of reprieve. So once you can get an attorney, you could even reach out to the Legal Aid Society. So let's say you didn't have the funds, you couldn't afford it. Sometimes the legal aid society helps individuals with that. There's a section of legal, at least for the one in Orlando, and I'm sure it'd be similar to Broward County. But when I was in Orlando, I did that with the legal aid society. So you could get an attorney, and if you can't afford one, look to your legal aid society. And then there are other sometimes firms that do that pro bono, and sometimes you could have a lawyer while they're working on one case, they could assist you with that as an aside, because it's just a matter of filling out forms, going before the court, especially if you're complying with the statute. It's not I'm not saying it's easy, it's not too difficult, especially if you're compliant and you meet the statutory requirements. So it's a matter of you filling out the forms and petitioning the court to do that. But it's definitely not automatic. Absolutely not.
Gotcha. Okay.
So mdap di ke pou sere a efase dosye yo, fok ou ta joun avoka pou fè sa. Men mdi kon sa ke mde kon volante nan Legal Aid Society, sou gen moun yo pa gen kob, men yal nan Legal Aid Society, epi Legal Aid Society gen avoka ki volante ki fè sa pou moun. So sou bezwen ka ou bezwen moun sere a efase dosye yo, ou gen al nan avoka de contacter Legal Aid Society ou nan komunite ou, epi ap konekte avèk an avoka ka fè sa pou. Avoka fè travay la pou gratis, men se ou pou paye pou dosye a. Nan mde fè la, li pa telman chè. Men ma konen tout bagay monte. Men li pa koutou pou yon avoka koutou, pou 1000 konbe dolar, paske wal nan Legal Aid Society y ap ede ou fè sa. Ou gen a fèl pou kontou, tout, de pou li, ou gen achete dosye ou sou internet la. Men problem ki sa, gen le lwa yo li ki pa fasil pou jere pou li, so gen le ou gen do a un avoka pou fè baga la fasil pou. Mwen so di kon sa ke gen le ou avoka ka fon travay pou. Et puis, même dans la fête travail là, ou ka mande avocat, excusez-moi, est-ce que vous pour ta fait ça ou tout gen demande ou gade les avocats ka fait parce que son situation c'est dossier y a fini pour si tout soit fait toutes sortes de pour faire parce que l'op effacer et serré excusez-moi serré effacer faut marcher droit on gon façon de dire faut marcher SS faut tout bagaille en l'ordre l'op fait ça si tout bagaille en l'ordre la facile pour avocat faire pour pas le problème on rempli dossier yo dans le monde des tribunal là pour faire ça pour.
So ça veut dire si ou gon l'autre bagay que on l'autre dossier dans mes avocat ou ka tout mandel.
Ou ka tout mandel. Oui, il va.
Yeah. Li te fait tel bagay est-ce que ka tout fait pour moi.
Yeah, est-ce que ka tout fait. Ah, gen avocat y a dit non, yo pa faire mais gen avocat yo ka faire parce que yo pou volontaire dans ça déjà, yo ka fait. So mande avocat si ka fait ou bien si ka aider. Gen des avocats y a fait ça pour yo tout dans bagay la y a fait les autres y a pour aider. Gen avocat retourner dans même moun ça plusieurs fois. Y a dit OK, ça dépend ou ka matcher ki sa pou. So ka mande avocat, ou bien on ka rele Legal Aid Society. In Broward, in Dade County, community again Legal Aid Society. Legal Aid Society, ça lié c'est pour moun qui besoin, c'est pas bagay crime non, moun qui besoin avocat pour aider avec eviction, seal and expungement, bagay façon comme ça, bagay qui pas crime, donc pas gen kob pour un avocat, pour un avocat, pour Legal Aid Society vini yo aider ou yo fait gratis pour mais ça pour payer c'est dossier yo et puis gen bagay yo mande pour quoi ben et pas en pile kon et pas trop pour soutal pour avocat comme Jean t'a plutôt parce que gen bagay pour avocat li cher parce que faut avocat payer employé police là ça fait vinn plus comme.
All right. Would you say the justice system will always be disadvantaged to both the poor and minorities, specifically when the system is appointed one for you?
Okay. That gives me tough questions. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't the justice system. Yeah, it's so. Let me start off with a appointed attorney. As you know, I was a former public defender, and it definitely depends on the individual. So, as a public defender, I worked long hours. I tried to represent my clients to the best of my ability. Then you had some public defenders that didn't. Just like you have good private attorneys, there are good public defenders. Just like you have bad private attorneys who take your money, there are bad public defenders. So when you're getting an attorney that's appointed, if it's a public defender, you want to sit down and talk to that person and see. Because sometimes when I had my client, they wouldn't even give me a shot. It wasn't until after we had trial they were apologizing. Oh, Vanessa, I'm so sorry I was disrespectful to you. I didn't realize you had my best interest. I just see stuff on TV. So it colors and shapes the way they see you. So it's definitely on a case by case basis, but the system is unfortunately disadvantageous to minors because the way minors are perceived. There are studies that show minors receive harsher penalties. That's a fact. Minors are received for the same crime. A minor defendant will receive a harsher punishment than a white. So that there's definitely evidence of that. But just because you have an appointed attorney, that doesn't necessarily mean you have a bad attorney. You want to take the time and meet that attorney, go to the attorney's office. They have office hours. Find out if they're advocating for you, if they have your best interest at heart. And I gave that opportunity to all my clients. And sometimes I would recommend that they would plead, you know, I'd give them an advice, and they would be apprehensive and say, "Oh, you're just saying that because of this." You want to go in with an open mind, see what that attorney's saying and why they're recommending this. You definitely don't want to just flee or take a deal if it's not the best for you. And you don't have to do that. You don't want to feel pressure to that. It's definitely important to be informed when, yes, the system is designed, is disadvantageous. It is. This has been going on for years. But the best way we can fix it is by, when you're doing your job, is when I was in the system, doing the best job and representing that individual to the best of your ability. I attended a panel where there were prosecutors and public defenders, and they were Black attorneys saying that they need to remain in the system because the system disadvantage. It's not an advantage for us. We have to be in the system. So don't shy away from those jobs. In fact, that's why I wanted to be a public defender, so I could help people. I would go to the juvenile justice center and I would instead of spending an hour there to see my clients, I'd be there for half the day talking to the kids. You know, why, how can, you not be here again? Just kind of counsel them and mentor them, even while being their client. So there's definitely, it's going to take more, it's going to take years. It's going to take all of us working together, but the little contributions do make a difference. You can make a difference in one person's life. So definitely court appointed is not, if you can't afford an attorney, you can't afford one. What's bad is when sometimes people take all their savings, they have a court appointed attorney, they haven't met the court appointed attorney, the family takes all their savings and they go get a private attorney, and that private attorney is no better, actually not better than the attorney that was appointed to them.
True.
Sometimes I would have cases where I'm working hard, I'm working the deals with the prosecutor, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, if I ever get arrested, I'm gonna get a public defender. You public defenders won't leave me alone." We're constantly going back and forth. You didn't give my client a better deal, but that's not seen, right? You don't see that. So give your attorney a chance. Don't just assume because they're appointed, I'm gonna go get a private, because oftentimes the private that you need, you can't afford. That top attorney is top dollars. And you're just putting money together to get a private attorney. That's not sometimes that's not prudent. You're just getting a worse off deal than you would have had. Whereas if you have that court appointed attorney, they have a relationship with that prosecutor, as I did. They go in and negotiate. I would go to lunch with the prosecutor. What are you going to do this? What about this deal? Constantly emailing. Whereas I'm not saying all private attorneys didn't do that, or all public defenders, but get to know that specific attorney. And it's a case by case basis, case by case basis.
You see, if the person is passionate about what they do, and some
Yeah,
of them fresh out of law school, they are very, very eager to
eager.
prove themselves and work hard so they can, right.
Yeah,
So you
and
might
you
be
you wanna have that sit down with that attorney. If that attorney is just like, "Oh, you're guilty. I'm not doing this," you can still have a voice You can that attorney has a supervisor. You can talk to the supervisor. You can they're your attorney. So yes, the system is it's not an advantage for us, but you if you have that court appointed attorney, sit down and talk to them. You may have that attorney, you may have one of the best attorneys in there. You just never know because they leave, they go on and become private attorneys. They're just getting their experience. So, for example, as a public defender, I'll never forget it. I was in court one day and I was on the job for about 6 months. By that time, I had already had probably about 10 trials. And there was a private attorney there. He came in with his client and we were talking and he was telling me how he hasn't had a trial yet. And he's been working for a year. What? You've been working for a year and you haven't had one trial? He was like, yeah, you guys are always in court. I'm thinking about leaving the private so I can come here because I need the experience. And that's how you learn. Is the practice. That's why they call it the practice of law. It's practicing. So that practice is important. You just want to find, that court appointed attorney may not, may just like you said, Pastor Sarah, be ambitious. As I was ambitious. I had a trial partner. My trial partner was amazing, amazing. I would take him any day over a private attorney. But again, that doesn't mean that the public defender does have its issues. The attorneys are oftentimes the caseload is heavy, and the attention that you would get, the clients feel like maybe the attorney doesn't know what they're doing, and sometimes that is true, but sometimes it's not. So you just have case by case basis. Speak with your attorney. Sit down and talk to your attorney, and come up with a plan for the case. How you're going to work
I'm
through that.
gonna throw that one out. I think my cousin Vinny was such a case. If I remember correctly, that movie, my cousin Vinny.
Oh, I was like that
Yeah,
movie.
I think Robert would know if that was. I think it was like an
My,
attorney fresh out of college. He didn't know what he was doing, but at the end of the day, he won
you
the
won the
case.
case. Oh yeah, that was a
And
funny movie. Sometimes it happens like that, but the court is not that dramatic. The way movies portray it, but
all right. Miss Stacy Bazille does not want to let you go. Okay, she's asking what law field would you like, do you think gets a better job? I'm sorry, what law field would you say is the most challenging to gain, to obtain a job in?
well, that depends. I would say, in my experience, probably corporate law is challenging. Um, Corporate law is quite challenging. It's about who you know, right? And so that's why it's good to make the connections. But corporate law depends. It requires a lot of you, a lot of hours. Um, sometimes you don't have that work-life balance. Sometimes different law firms, if you want to be in a top law firm, that's very competitive to get into. And now it seems the federal government jobs, they're a little bit more difficult because of the job security they provide. So people are staying in those fields longer than they usually did. And now with there's this student loan forgiveness program, more people are staying in these jobs longer because if they make payments for about 10 years or 120 payments, they can get their loans forgiven. So they'll take the lesser job. So there's less opportunities. Those jobs are not opening up. So it's a challenge to get into those positions. But it just depends. If you know early on what you want to do, it's just aligning the right people around you, getting that mentor. And it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. That's what a lot of and that's true. You can be the smartest person. Smart people, there are smart people all the time. They don't. It's very difficult to get to be employed in law, especially as a minority. It's about who you know. Yeah.
All right. I know, counsel, we've been grilling you with a lot of questions, but somebody's encouraging you with these kind words. She knows her stuff.
Oh,
Excellent
thank you.
job. Excellent
Thank
job.
you.
So I'm not sure if Stacy was on in the beginning, but she's asking what was your life like in law school? Were you able to work during that time?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So Oh my gosh, I have to confess while I'm here. So in law school, I worked the probably uh, maybe most of the time, maybe 2.5 years. So law school 3 years. I worked. I always had a part-time job during that time. Probably about um, of the 3 years, 2.5 years, I had a part-time job. That's not typical. Most people do not work because it's so much work. Like you have to put in a lot of hours studying. I'm gonna confess, my husband was a better student than I was. He was in the libraries on Saturdays. The information kind of, because it came easier to me, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm sorry to, I want you to learn from my mistake. I slacked sometimes. I worked, and sometimes I wasn't as disciplined as he was. He was a great student. But I would go to the library, and I got a partner to help me with that because it's hard. You have to know your limitations. And mines were sitting in the library for hours, so I changed it up. I did study groups to give me a better discipline, but I always worked because I needed the income. I needed the income. So my mother was helping me, and I had to work. So sometimes people don't. There's also night classes where you can work full time and do law school in the evening, and that's a 4 year track. So if you have a job and you have to work, I would recommend you get into the night program. You work during the day and law school at night. Very challenging, very very challenging, but definitely possible. But that would help. And so if you do that, I would encourage you to, let me add, Pastor Sarah, because this is a passion in mine. If you go into law school or any school, try to take as less loans as possible. Don't use it for your tuition and your basic needs, essential needs. The money's there. You're gonna have to pay that back eventually. So take out exactly what you need and not a penny more. So that's why I worked in law school, because law school debt can range from 50,000 to $250,000, depending on the school you go to. So that's law school. And then when you're going into nursing or med, it's different. But definitely, you want to make sure you're taking the amount that you need. And if you have this family support, rely on it. Family's there; they want to see you succeed. That's important.
Is it more cost effective to go to law school in state or out of state?
It's more cost effective to go to law school in the state where you have residency, and it's more cost effective to go to a state school. You could definitely go to a private school, but I would recommend that if you do, you have a robust financial aid package that includes scholarships that will cover most of the tuition. That's important because you could accumulate a lot of debt going to school out of state, going to a private school. If you if you can, I would encourage. And it's definitely specific to the individual. You may have a school that your family have. There's a list. Your family, your mother went, your father went, or you love this school, and there's a program that you like. If you are going to go to that school, a financial aid package should include most of the tuition, because you can walk out way with a degree but have $200,000 in debt. So I would just proceed with caution when considering the school. Um, that's very important.
All right. So the way you spoke about the public defenders, vous voyez, public defenders, you're monté. Stacy says, thank you. You gave me a new insight on public defense, because once I hear about it, I kind of cringe. But now I understand how important it is to defend our community. Yes.
Yes, Stacey, thank you.
Wonderful,
It
wonderful
is very
job.
important because you could be a voice
Yes.
for that individual, that
Yes.
our people. You could be a voice, and it's so important. Don't look. It's definitely not an easy job, but approach it with passion. And how would you, the golden rule? How would you want to be treated? It definitely makes the job harder because it's a lot of work, but it makes you a better attorney, right? It
Right,
makes you
right.
when you're a trial attorney, when you litigate, people are looking for that. When you can speak before a dynamic courtroom, before a jury, a judge, That takes a lot of discipline, passion, skill, communication skills, oral communication skills, composure, demeanor. Um, it's a lot you're working through. So
All right. Well, it's been great. So, you guys that are on the live, I'm going to ask you now to like it. Just go ahead and like it. Give us that thumb up. Give Council Bonnie this thumb up. She did wonderfully well. I told you. All right, she
you're
did
good at this.
great. She did great. And we're going to have her back. We're going to have her. We're
I'll
gonna
be back.
just because, so we can prove a point, right?
Yeah, we
That's an
gotta
inside joke, you all. That's an inside joke, but it's been great. So go ahead and give us a thumb up right now, not thumb down, thumb up. Let's
up
go do it now. Do it now.
and
I know you are
subscribe.
very
Did I say that
engaged.
correctly?
Say
And
what?
subscribe. I said and subscribe.
And subscribe. Yes, subscribe. All right. Yes, yes, do that. I know you've been very engaged, so you may have forgotten to like or share or comment. Come on, leave the comments there or on the live chat. It was great to have Council Bonnie with us, a young, beautiful, and successful
Hi.
attorney pour du Haïti. Ça c'est du pays, my moulin pays, right? Tout
Yes.
pour du Haïti. Oh. She was not born in Haiti, but she is a product of
Got it.
Haitian woman.
Proud to be
So,
Haitian.
yes, last but not least, I wanted to leave this as the last question. We are closing. When all is said and done, how would you like to be remembered in the legal field? Wow, Robert,
Really, Robert?
that's the last one. I thought that was the best. We had great questions. The
Oh, good one.
audience was very engaged, but I said, let me leave that one for last. Go ahead.
Well, I definitely, I moved in to South Florida in 2019. I definitely would like to do more for my community. And I know I shied away from doing this, but it's important that we give back to the community. So how would I like to be remembered? Just as a person who is passionate about her people, who could roll up her sleeve and help out in any way possible and feasible. So that's basically what I'm on the journey to do. I'm trying to. I want to get more involved. We definitely need that, and so that's what I. Oh, thank you. That's how I want to be remembered. Um,
Yeah, they really like you. Are you coming back?
Linya, sa linya,
Are you
Jalba.
coming back?
You're gonna get me on camera. Where's she go? Okay, I'll come back. I'll come back. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Thank you.
I'm just messing
It
with
was
her.
great. It was great. It was. But again,
Yes,
what I do,
yes.
that's what I want to be remembered. I want to help and continue to be involved in the community, and just I'm trying to, I'm talking with friends and professionals on how we can just change the trajectory of the way things are going. I want to build a better future for my children, right? The struggles that we're having now, I don't want that for my kids. We don't want that. It's definitely sometimes discouraging, but it's encouraging when we find other people and they have that passion. It's just a matter of us putting our minds together and coming up with a plan, something to make a difference. And that difference could be what you're doing today. You do this every Thursday. You're helping someone out. Someone is hearing a message that's gonna change um, their life for the better. So it's very important. Sometimes we think of things on a scheme of, grand scale. It's the little things. Doing the little things help.
Absolutely. And I do want to say that Thursday night, that's what it's about. Showcasing, displaying our, um, not only our background, but those of us who've made it, who've come from a humble beginning, from Haitian parents who came here well in their 30s, their 40s, uneducated, doing odd jobs. But look at you, you are a successful attorney. We have doctors,
Yeah.
we have engineers, computer engineering. We are making it as a people. So those faceless people under the bridge, that were under the bridge in Texas, they're me, they're you, given the right opportunity. That's what we want to say.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So thank you so much, Vanessa, for gracing this
Thank you for
platform
having me.
with your beautiful self, with your knowledgeable self, with your well projecting self. All right.
I
All
learned
right.
from
Thank
the
you guys.
best.
Thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna take you off camera. Good night, Vanessa. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for liking. If you have not liked yet, go ahead and do that right now for this beautiful young lady who gave us so much information and showed us the path that she had taken through her journey from a nursing school, from beginning to go to nursing school to switching to law school, and she's got her legal studies under the belt. So God bless you guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place for morning prayer. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you. May the Lord give you his grace. May the Lord turn his face towards you. May he give you his peace. Good night and thank you.